So let's call to order this meeting for Monday, October 28th. Jordan, would you start us off with a roll call, please?
Please respond by stating present. Councilmember Ronayne.
Present.
Foberg. Liebelt.
Present.
Johnson.
Present.
Reinbold.
Present.
Langer.
Present.
Norvstrup.
Present.
Mayor Shoneman.
Present. Please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. We do have a slight modification to this agenda, and that is a change in the amount of one of the bills. It is for the titles of Dakota Water Reclamation Land Purchase. It wasn't totaled when we'd added it. It's listed at $48,775.86. It should be $50,000 even. Is that correct?
Well, we're just making it 50,000 to be safe in case there's an additional charges in the next couple days.
Okay, so not to exceed
Not to
50,000.
exceed 50,000.
Sounds good. I would take a motion to approve our agenda with that adjustment.
Move to approve with the adjustment.
I've got a motion from Councilman Reinbold and a second from Councilman Norvstrup. Anyone
It's okay,
got
just
any
as well.
questions or input on that? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Next, approval of minutes. This was from last week's meeting on October 21st. Take a motion to approve the minutes of that meeting.
So moved. Second.
Motion Norvstrup, second Ward. Anyone have anything to add? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. When I arrived, no one had signed up to speak at the open forum, so our consent calendar will be next on our agenda, which is 4 items of routine city business. I would take a motion to approve that consent calendar and those items.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion Ronayne, second Reinbold. Does anyone on the council have anything on any of these? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. 2 items of old business to push along through here this week. The first is our second reading final adoption of ordinance 21-1001, which is the petition to rezone property. We had talked about that to some extent last week with our meeting. Ken, would you just run us through the high points of that rezone?
Sure. Again, thank you, Mayor. The city of Aberdeen is requesting to rezone the Aberdeen Dome and the Strode Center properties from R1 to municipal, state and county use district to allow the Parks and Rec Department and the city to continue to offer activities and programming to the in the public interest. Staff or the Planning Commission approved this petition to rezone on October 15th, 2024, and staff recommends approval.
Thanks, Ken.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second that.
We've got a motion from Councilman Johnson and a second from Councilwoman Liebelt. I did have a couple of questions for you, Ken, just as a point of clarification. As far as you know, 0% of the city's property is zoned anything aside from municipal, aside from this property?
I wouldn't say 0%. I know there's some out there that have slipped through the cracks that we've been correcting over the years to bring them into the municipal, state, and county use district.
But any of the high traffic stuff, anything that gets a lot of attention is probably zone municipal, and that's a vast majority of all the property.
Yeah.
And this also does not include the dorms that are in the southeast part or the eastern part of Presentation College. This is simply the dome and the Strode Center structure and the grassy areas around those.
That's correct. Just the 2 platted lots that the city owns. The dorms are a separate platted lot, and they are currently zoned R1.
Thank you, Ken. I appreciate that. Does anyone else from the council have any questions as it relates to this rezone? All right, this will be the final reading and adoption. Jordan, would you give us a roll call then, please? Oh. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, thank you. I'm Paul Hopkins, and I'm a neighbor in the area. First of all, I want to say that I'm glad we're not in California like the gentleman said last week, that this is Aberdeen, South Dakota. So it's very pleasant. I've never been to a meeting like this before.
When the weather is 71, we're all glad it's South Dakota, but there's times.
It's nice even when it's 30 below. But last week I didn't say anything because I've never been to a meeting before. So this week I just wanted to say a couple comments if I could. First of all, and Mayor, you did mention about the fact that most everything is municipality. However, my understanding, and we talked about it at the planning meeting, that's just more of a keep everything in line, and there's not any requirement to have this zoned M where it's currently zoned R1. That's correct, right? There's not a requirement.
I don't believe so. Is that the case, Ken?
So the municipal, state, and county use, basically the entire ordinance says property zoned municipal, state, and county use can be improved, utilized for the use of the city and its citizens.
But it seems like the appropriate zoning for that purpose of a dome and an athletic facility.
Yep.
Thank
Right.
you.
Yeah,
All right.
which I understand that, and then I think we discussed that. I think the one thing is that I'm a neighbor in that area, and there's a lot of trust with the current city leadership, because I know apparently in the past there's been some zoning issues and they've been corrected and all that. I just want to give one story from my past, our past, and to express a little bit of a concern, is that we sold a house in Ohio. We lived there for a while, and it was a beautiful neighborhood, a great house, great everything. There was a big, huge field in the back, okay? Didn't bother us at all. It was like, oh, there's a field, it's nice, it's pretty. People would come and say, they'd look at the house and say, what's going back there? I have no idea. Well, I'm not really sure if I want to buy this house because I'm not really confident of what's going to be built back there. And the reason why I tell you that is that I think there's obviously conversations about the Strode Center and the dorm and discussion about that, but I think there is a concern from the neighbors about that open area that's in the, whatever you want to call it, the northeast side. And there's, like you mentioned at the meeting with the Presentation Sisters, Mayor, that there's no intent to put anything on there. And I personally believe that because, again, I trust the leadership of the community. However, the question is, 10 years from now, who's going to be on there? Okay, who's going to be the leadership? And here's a prime property that maybe we want to put, and I can't imagine, but you never know, put a jail on there or put some other municipal, because there is no restriction. When you look at the zoning, there's nothing that says, oh, there's a restriction to do that. It's obviously the best use, and I'm sure there'll be hearings and all that kind of stuff. So one suggestion, and again, it's nothing about the current leadership, because I think there'll be good communication, but to develop the trust, if you will, for future use, a suggestion was to make that specific area into a parkland. And in that way, again, things can change, but I think that would be a commitment from the city to say, we're not going to develop that land without whatever, and I don't know what that means. I put a request in last week to the city's attorney's office. I'm waiting for a response, and maybe that didn't go through as far as what that means to make it into a parkland. But that's what I would suggest is to be, just to give some comfort in the neighborhood that property wouldn't be used for anything except for potentially great future use for Aberdeen.
Sure. Well, I appreciate the suggestion, and we did actually sign a document because the sisters also had a common concern that it would be used for something like a jail, and we've stricken that from possibility with our purchase agreement. Is that not the case?
When the city acquired the property, the sisters put on a restriction that it not be used for commercial purposes. So I think the idea was that if the city would later sell it to a developer, that potentially that could run afoul of that restriction, but that's what the restriction is.
Okay.
So it's not a restriction on putting any other municipality, structure or anything like that?
Nope, no restriction on other governmental purposes.
Right. So I think that would be the concern. Again, just going back to, and I'll be honest, our property does not abut that area. But I just want to express that just from life experience that, again, you can agree with it or not, but that's someone making that comment that what's going to be built back there. I don't want to buy that property. And it's just a factual story. And I'm just asking you to consider, because again, I just want to finish that you know, I trust everybody's gonna do the goodwill for the people, but I think unless you codify something or put something in place to develop that 10 years from now, 20 years from now, that won't happen, so.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Tiffany, what have you got?
I really appreciate you coming in, especially the way that you did. And the respect that you're speaking with is highly appreciated. I think that it's important to realize and think about these things, but we just dealt with an issue where we had land and the homeowners weren't happy, and obviously that land was purchased or had a long time ago, and we had to listen to them, and it brought up issues that we didn't see, and I was really proud of how we've handled that and how we've continued to handle that. So I will say, I hope your faith in the people who sit up here in 10 years is as great as I have for us. But that situation specifically, you know, we didn't know that was happening, and I think that it's hard, even if we said, okay, we're not going to zone it this way, in 10 years they would have to rezone it if they wanted to put up a public works facility, and the same issues I'd assume would happen, and all of this would happen. And I will say we can't just do that without the city knowing, or without the people of the city knowing. So even if we changed this and we didn't do anything with it for 10 years, or even if we didn't change it, the process would still be the same if we wanted to put a public works facility there.
But when you rezone it, you don't have to do that. You can talk about it, but you don't have to rezone it. It's already been zoned to do that.
Right.
My understanding of how the zoning works. And then just one other comment. I just want to say, again, we didn't know about this, and it takes a while to process. And I don't want to lecture. I really don't want to lecture or anything, but, you know, when you're developing a plan, you all know, because you all have done it before. I've done it. You sit there for months and you come up with the best solution. It's probably the best solution. And then you kind of go like this to the people that have to implement it or live it. You go, bleh. And all of a sudden, they go, I don't get it. What do you mean you don't get it? We've been discussing this for 6 months, but you haven't talked to us about it. And so what happens is, and I said this at the other meeting, you get a little defensive. You're like, I know what's going on. And everybody understands communication is really important. What happened in this case, we didn't even know about this until a couple weeks ago, you know, 3 weeks ago. I'm not blaming you at all. It's just we didn't have time to process these changes that are going on. So that's all I'm saying. It's not saying it's a bad thing to do, but it's the communication of, and everything's followed by the law. There's no question. Everything was done correctly. I'm not saying that, but this is a major change to the neighborhood, and I think people get concerned, and they have to understand what's going on. And there might be better solutions.
Thank you, Paul. Appreciate your input on this thing. And so I guess the way that it's zoned now, M1, it could be used for a neighborhood, correct?
R1.
Correct.
R1,
R1.
rather, sorry.
Yeah.
R1. We've got a restriction in place that we've agreed that it will not be used for any sort of commercial activities, which was, I guess, their concern. It's really not a good place for a park in terms of access and in terms of you know, traffic in neighborhoods and in places that are underrepresented in terms of park space and that kind of a thing. My goal and my hope when we were talking to the sisters was really from the beginning that perhaps this could be a neighborhood in the future, at a time in the future in which perhaps we need a new neighborhood development. But that's, as I'd mentioned in that meeting, that's a long ways off. We've got neighborhoods in development all across this community, and there's a lot of space to fill before we have to look at that. But this step is a formality, and this wouldn't prevent anything from happening. Like, so in terms of a process, Ken, would this step, I guess I'm just trying to some extent alleviate the concern that there would be additional points of input should this place be like if we were going to put like a gravel pit or something like that, or something that would be detrimental to a community.
Right, and I would assume it would be a similar process to the property west of here where the city was contemplating putting in a facility. There's going to be opportunities for public comment. One thing I did share, I don't know if it was with you or one of your neighbors, was if this entire 2 parcels is rezoned to municipal, it actually adds a process and a step to rezone it to a residential use. You know, if you had concerns about houses being built back there down the road, it would actually have to be parceled off, rezoned to residential, sold to a developer. So there would be multiple steps to add input at that time. If it goes to municipal, I guess it kind of keeps the property consolidated and under the use of the municipality until that would ever come up. So if Travis's thoughts on a residential area came up down the road, there would be multiple opportunities to have a say in that.
Well, I suspect it's not necessarily the residential that people are concerned about. It's more the gravel pit, which we know is not gonna happen. But again, I'm just stating there is a concern when people are looking at property with open areas behind them. And again, I trust everybody here. I think everybody does, but you just don't know who's gonna come in 10, 15 years from now.
Yeah, and I think Tiffany's point too is a really strong one in that we had a desirable area that we had owned that was probably the best place to put a public works facility, and the neighbors expressed their discontent about the proximity to their homes, and we, as a result of that, took a look at other properties that would even require acquisition to alleviate those concerns and to be as good as possible neighbors to those people. So I think that there's going to be ample opportunity in the future to stand in the way of things that would be detrimental to the neighborhood. But I also want to reassure you that hopefully, I can't see a circumstance in the future in which people are going to want to degrade the quality of your neighborhood through doing that kind of a thing. So hoping that someday it does become a beautiful new neighborhood that we can continue to grow and thrive and have young families that bring value to this community. But for the time being, it'll be a grassy lot that's better kept up than when it was in previous because we've mowed the thing.
All right.
Thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
Paul. I appreciate your input and your time. Anyone else from the council have anything to add?
Mr.
Okay.
Mayor,
Go ahead, Tiffany.
sorry, just a question. Was there any other conversation, like, is there an issue if we keep it in R1? Or is that just absurd?
The neighbors had brought up the idea of allowing it to remain R1 and utilizing zoning approval processes for anything that would happen on that property. They would, in essence, call it a I don't have the ordinance here, but a public place or park, and then it would be subject to all the zoning regulations of the district. I don't know if it would necessarily fall within that definition. Again, all the parks in Aberdeen are currently zoned municipal. All of our buildings, facilities.
Or if we like kept that one, I'm sorry. The one area specifically we're talking about, and then we do the rest, like, can we parcel that off and keep, I'm just trying to think of a nice compromise that makes everyone feel good about it.
It kind of, as I was explaining, if that is parceled off now and zoned differently, it actually probably makes it more developable than leaving it as part of the parcel and zoning it to only uses that the municipality can determine.
Thank you. But in response to, I guess, the big picture question that Chief's got, it would be quite a process to hack off that L-shaped segment and to rezone that part or leave that part and then rezone the remainder of it in terms of the value that would bring.
Yeah, the platting to separate the parcel would require approval by the Planning Commission and the City Council. Rezoning that back to R1 would require a public hearing with the Planning Commission and 2 hearings with the City Council, so there'd be ample time to discuss their concerns with that at that time. And I'm assuming nobody would jump into a deal to buy that property from the city without the assurance that it's been rezoned to residential.
Thank you. Anyone else in the council have any questions? Jordan, would you give us a roll call vote on that second reading then, please?
Councilmember Ronayne.
Aye.
Liebelt.
Aye.
Ward.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Reinbold.
Aye.
Langer.
No.
Norvstrup.
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye, motion carries. Thanks for joining us, guys. Appreciate your input on the matter. Next, we've got a possible second reading and final adoption of an ordinance titled 2410-6, which sets salaries and wages of city officials, employees for the upcoming year. There was a couple of adjustments last week to the original print, but I think we're square. Does that remain the same? Jordan?
Thank you, Mayor. That's my understanding. I actually didn't compile this, but it came from our Human Resources Department.
I think it was just the two changes was all we had.
Thank you. I would take
Move to approve with the 2 changes.
Second.
Got a motion from Councilwoman Liebelt and a second from Councilman Reinbold. Does anyone have any final words before we take a second vote on this one? Okay, Jordan, would you give us a roll call vote then, please?
Councilmember Norvstrup,
Aye.
Langer, Reinbold,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Ward,
Aye.
Liebelt,
Aye.
Ronayne,
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye, motion carries. Next, we've got new business segment of this meeting where we've got a possible first reading and passage of a resolution of intent to lease 32 acres of city-owned land to a private person for a 3-year term, which begins next year, 2025. And this is something that we have done in the past. Ron, are you going to walk us through this agreement?
Sure, I will. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's been a while since the council has done one of these, but in order to lease city-owned land to a private person for a lease term that's both in excess of a year and 120 days and more than $500, we have to go through this process. What we're proposing here is a 3-year lease on some hay land in the northern part of the county that's kind of locked in. You can tell from the drawing that was attached to it. It's kind of surrounded by this particular farmer, Mr. Podall, and Mr. Podall has rented this land for many years, and the last 3-year term has expired, and we're now looking at a new 3-year lease. The last cash per farm per acre was $50, and Mr. Podall has agreed to raise that to $62.50 for $2,000 per year for these 32 acres. But again, we start through this process where we have a resolution of intent to lease. We then have to publish a notice of this intent to lease, wait the appropriate time, and then we can come to the council for approval of the actual resolution approving the lease. So this is the first process.
I'll move to approve. Second.
Got a motion from Councilman Ronayne and a second from Councilman Johnson. Does anyone have any questions as it relates to this lease agreement or this ground itself?
I have a question.
Go
Who
ahead.
maintains the liability insurance on that property?
It would be the farmer's activities that would be just under their general liability. As the tenant, they'd be responsible.
Indicating that the city is the owner and he
Yeah.
was just leasing.
They would be required to hold us harmless for whatever issues they have, so.
Okay,
It's
thank
not a
you.
property, I don't know that there's a lot of activity on that. I would think.
And in terms of access to that property on the north side, is that a road or a maintained road?
The north side is a maintained road, yes, and then we do have a road that goes into a well house on that particular parcel. We've got a well on that piece, that's why we own it.
But the whole remainder of all the dark color in that is just what gets grown grass and hay.
Right.
Okay, sounds good. Any other questions from the council? Jordan?
Councilmember Ronayne,
Aye.
Liebelt,
Aye.
Ward,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Reinbold,
Aye.
Langer,
Aye.
Norvstrup,
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye, motion carries. Next, to the possible approval of pay request number 3, which is the grand total of $668,567.85 to B&B Contracting, as well as a change order for $19,008 for our Klein Street Storm Sewer. Stu, how's that project coming? And tell us about this payment.
The project is going well. We anticipate we're gonna be doing at least partial paving this week. I just found that out this afternoon, so I think maybe the first half of the south half of the project is gonna get its first lift on either Thursday or Friday. That, I guess, is depending on how much it rains on Wednesday. And kind of as the council action form says, this is mainly for the the water main, sanitary, and storm sewer main installation on the project. And the engineering department recommends approval of the payment.
Move approval.
Motion Johnson, second Northrup, and tell us about the change order. How do you feel about that?
Sure, so, the change order is, basically when the storm sewer pipe got shipped to us from the supplier, or to the contractor, I should say, they shipped 6 extra pieces. Well, coincidentally, it just turned out that we could use that on our 8th Avenue, pipe replacement project that we just kind of finished up last week. So the change order is to pay for those pieces of pipe rather than having them sent back. We figured we could use them, and as it says here, I think we saved about $5,000 by getting a furnished price from the contractor to buy those pieces of pipe from the contractor. So saved ourselves a little bit of money in the process of keeping those pieces of pipe.
Sometimes those mistakes are a blessing. As it turns out, Jordan, would you give us a roll call vote then, please, on this payment and change order?
Councilmember Norvstrup,
Aye.
Langer,
Aye.
Reinbold,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Ward,
Aye.
Liebelt,
Aye.
Ronayne,
Aye.
Mayor Shonneman.
Aye, motion carries. Next, we have our bills for this week. I'll take a motion to pay the bills.
Move to pay the bills.
Second.
Motion, Councilwoman Liebelt, second, Councilman Ward. Does anyone have anything to declare as it results, or as it relates to any of these bills, or any questions? All right, Jordan, would you give us a roll call vote then, please?
Councilmember Ronayne,
Aye.
Liebelt,
Aye.
Ward,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Reinbold,
Aye.
Langer,
Aye.
Norvstrup,
Aye.
Mayor Shonneman.
Aye, motion carries. Next, we've got our city manager's report with Robin Bobzien. Robin, what have you got for us this evening?
Couple items. The WINS group did meet with Representative Johnson and his folks on Wednesday. I believe Mr. Northrup was there as our representative. I was tied up, and hopefully that went well. I know it was a short meeting and kind of short notice, but it was good to be able to get together with him. On, what day was it? Wednesday night, I think. We had a presentation for Emily Gulen with the League of Women Voters. Apparently she is moving out of town, but she's been with the League here for 45 years. And so we did a presentation for her years of service to that organization. That's a long time. And the Kramer Center group will be meeting with a variety of your staff, and I think everyone on the council is invited to participate in any of these activities. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Tuesday, there's going to be a community meeting at 3 o'clock. I think they're going to visit about what they may be able to do to help the community think big picture things. Wednesday morning, there's going to be a discussion on organic change and community involvement. I think the mayor's going to be part of that group. And then Thursday morning, there's going to be a discussion on solutions in design and housing, and Ken is going to be part of that panel for a discussion. So any of those items or meetings, I think you'd be invited to go to. I think we did do a potential quorum notification so that the public would know that we may have more than our typical quorum at those meetings participating in that. So that's all I've got.
Thank you, Robin. And I would like to make mention, since I didn't do it last week, but week before last, Robin was had the distinction of being awarded the 2025 Excellence of South Dakota Municipal Government Award. And I pulled that up so I could read it to make sure I got it. It's quite a mouthful. But in essence, the Municipal League hands out an award each year to someone that's made an impact in the community that they serve, and this year was Robin, and I think well-deserved. So congratulations, Robin. Appreciate your service to the city of Aberdeen. Glad that you were able to get a shiny new award out of the deal. So if there's nothing further, I'd be happy to take a motion to adjourn this meeting.
So moved. Second.
Motion Johnson, second Reinbold. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you all very much.